Already broke it.
Those are all the water infrastructure and that one. Yeah, does that make it a bit? No. No. It's I'm sure the entire area. It's like so. The whole fair keeps this part and then we start it up. Happens out of so way that.
Really?
I'm sure it's just like us.
The kids are home.
Spend it offline. Let's turn your camera. Stevie, can you hear me?
The volume's. Really, really wants to.
Yeah. That's why Yankees like 9.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Any board members online, if you would please turn your cameras on. There you go.
There he is.
And then we also have Commissioner Chapato. She may turn hers on.
Judge,
She's worked under. Okay.
We're ready. We do have a forum. We'll call this Rio Grande Council of Governments board meeting to order. And
And the time is 10:05.
10:05.
Would you like to maybe pledge allegiance?
Let's stand up and pledge of allegiance.
Yes, right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Now we'll do roll call.
Yes, sir. If I may, I'll just go ahead and announce for roll call for those virtually. We do have Commissioner Jackie Butler representing El Paso County present. We do have County Judge Culberson County, the Honorable Carlos Diaz. We do have Commissioner Susana Chaparro with Diana County. And I believe that is all of our members online. We do have our legal counsel, Ms. Valdez, and she's attending virtually, so she is present as well. And then if you'd like, you can start with Representative Fierro, would you like to?
Good morning, Fierro, present. Good morning, Constable Frank Kamala, present.
Good morning, Mayor Chacon, present.
Good morning. Andy Renteria, Mayor of Town of Horizon City, present.
Good morning, City Representative El Paso, District 7, Lily Limon.
Artis Evans, President. Jeff Davis, County Judge.
Annette Gutierrez, Rio Grande Council Governments Executive Director.
Mayor Baeza, City of Marfa.
Mayor Corrales out of Van Horn. Good morning.
Joanna McKenzie, Hudspeth County.
Jose Portillo, Presidio County.
Lisa Nani, El Paso City Board President.
Good morning, Rebecca Stallworth, Rio Grande Council Governments.
And we can, Alexis, do you want to go?
Hi, I'm Alexis Rivera, Project Manager with Workforce Solution Board of Plugs.
Alice Acosta, County, Rio Grande. Rio Grande, sorry. Lady Sigmund City, yeah. You got Lugo, Rio Grande Council of Governments. And then Estrada, Council of Governments.
For Air Agency on Aging. Judy Cisneros, Finance Director for the call.
This is Nettles, Assistant.
Welcome, everybody.
Oh, and then we do have Representative Josh Acevedo, who just joined us. Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll move on into approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
And that meeting was held on October 29th, 2025. I know it has been some time since the last time that we met, but that is reflecting the activities that were conducted during the meeting of the 29th of October.
Motion approved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, October the 29th, 25. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Number 3, public comments.
We do not have any public comments in terms of anyone who has signed up, but if there's anyone in the audience who would like to make any announcements or public comments at this time.
Hearing
No,
none.
sir.
Finance, number 4.
Good morning, Alice Acosta, the county. I'm presenting the first quarter for Wells Fargo, our first operating account. This is from October 1st through December 31st. Our operating account, which is our main account where we issue checks. Our book and market value is, or for December 31st was 2,158,283 with an interest of 4,148. Our next account is the 911 account, which is our CSEC account. The book and market value for December 31st was 227,785 with an interest of 317. Our next account is TCEQ account, which is our solid waste. The book and market value for December 31st, 2025, 26,223 with an interest earned of $26. This is just an information only.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we can start on page 12. And on page 12 of your packet, you'll be able to see what the next agenda item is.
This is an information only item presented by Annette Gutierrez.
Yes, sir.
Director.
Thank you. So what I wanted to do is just inform all of you that the recently this endeavor started more than a year and a half ago, but in December of 2025, I was able to graduate from the Certified Public Manager Program that is offered through the Texas Association of Regional Councils. And their education provider is Texas State University. And so this program, the purpose of it is to offer opportunities to local government employees, the leadership opportunities that they will be facing in their positions. And so what this entailed was it was a 7-track program that had 3 components in each of those tracks. And so it was a lengthy initiative. One of the main components to that was that we needed to do a capstone project. And so I just want to briefly tell you about what I did, because I think that it can have potential for this organization, whether it's under my leadership or future leadership, because it's a huge endeavor. And so one item I also to make mention of is that this was not a free program. This program did cost just a little bit under $5,000, and there was travel required because for each track, the first session that we had for each track, we had to meet in person. But then with the other 2 classes within that track, we were meeting virtually. And so for my capstone, I wanted to just look into what are COGS doing in Texas? Whether are they owning their properties or are they leasing their properties? And so we all, for the most part, hopefully have an understanding what COGS are. We're regional. We have multi-level service organizations, and we're formed because of you all, our local governments. And our purpose is to coordinate planning services, planning as well as services that come through in any facet, whether that's federal, state, or through local programs. And one big item, just as a reminder, council governments cannot levy taxes, and so we're reliant on grants, dues, as well as our enterprise programs. And so in terms of our structure of the council of government, that did occur in 1965 when we were authorized to act in this manner. We are defined in the local government code for Texas under Chapter 391, and we are recognized as voluntary associations as well as us being a political subdivision of the state. And then for all councils of governments, for the most part, the core programs that we all administer are going to be those of aging, 911, emergency preparedness, criminal justice, economic development, solid waste, water, flood planning, and workforce programs. And when I say workforce programs, it was pretty much predominantly just that, serving as a liaison for workforce solutions up until this fiscal year. And so when we look at the revenue tiers of COGS, they vary in size because obviously if you have a council of government such as Houston, you're gonna have a very large population base. Most of our grants are formula based. And so you'll see the mix of council of governments in terms of how they have their budgets. And so on the lower end, which is what we would be considered in, those are budgets that are up to 11 million or less. The medium size, those are 11 to 33 million, and then the high are 58 to 450 million. So as you can see here in these categories, there was a mix of ownership and leasing buildings under those who had lower budgets. In the medium, that's where most of the ownership occurred. And then under our council of governments who had the highest budgets, the majority of them leased their buildings. And so again, for financial constraints under council of governments, just as a reminder, we cannot levy taxes. And so we do have a limited fund balance. We are dependent on reimbursable federal grants. And then our enterprise programs are the ones that really help us build our unrestricted funds. And so in terms of the survey findings, which I conducted, 19 of the 24 did respond, but through further research, I was able to determine that 13 own buildings and 11 of them lease. And oftentimes the ownership is tied directly to grants or nonprofit partnerships in terms of them being able to own that building or renovate the building itself. And so some examples of nonprofit partnerships, just to illustrate, include that of the Heart of Texas COG, which is based in Waco. What they do is they lease the building from a nonprofit, which is the Heart of Texas Economic Development District. So there is a very clear connection in terms of their partnership. So they lease their buildings from this nonprofit, and then in turn, the nonprofit will embark the professional services of the Council of Governments to provide the lease management. And so they're receiving monies essentially from themselves. I know it sounds kind of strange, but I think it's a great workaround in terms of being able to find unrestricted funds. So just as a reminder, if they're paying X amount of dollars to rent to Heart of Texas Economic Development District, but then Heart of Economic Development District is paying them X amount of dollars to manage the facility. So it's kind of a wash. Under the Deep East Texas Council of Government, what they're doing is they're working closely with a nonprofit which they created, the FCDC. And so that nonprofit owns the building. The Deep East Texas COG will make lease payments to that nonprofit. And then that nonprofit in turn will make grants to the Council of Government quarterly. So then they're receiving that money back unrestricted. And so if you look at the nonprofit model, it obviously provides great flexibility and funding options. However, some of the potential negative consequences from this can be that because there is that separation of a 501c3 and a political subdivision, that 501c3 can make a decision on its own at any point in time to dissolve that relationship. And so that's something that you need to be aware of. And then in terms of owning and leasing, which you all would probably be aware of, and I'm looking at Mayor Chacon because they are currently leasing their facilities. So when your building is perfect and there's no maintenance issues, you want to own, right? But when there's issues with that, it's nice to be able to ask the landlord to fix those items for you rather than you having to do it on your own. So in terms of owning, the stability, the control of the costs, the equity that you have, and you may have higher costs up front, but down the road, your costs are less. In terms of leasing, there is a lot of more flexibility with that. You have predictable expenses.
But in terms of long-term risk, the cost can be incremental each year, and then therefore you may have to continually move because you've been priced out of the current space that you're in. And so the other thing to take into account is that for these larger councils of governments, the underlying tone was that it was more preferential to lease their buildings because land is costly where they reside. You've got the Dallas area, you've got Houston, you've got Austin. San Antonio is the only large cog who owns their building, but of the other ones, they all lease their buildings because that's one of the main reasons why they chose to do that. When you're a smaller council of government, more rural, you have more of an opportunity to own the building because there's more opportunities for you to establish with your local communities. And so as an example, I'll use one for Van Horn with Mayor Corrales. If Van Horn, through their Economic Development Corporation, wanted to build a building for us and it would be a partnership where we could lease to own, we could go into that because they have the financial structure and maybe we would be a great anchor organization in their community. That's how it's happened in several other COGs in terms of them being able to have really flexible, low cost buildings to be able to go into. And so the other item that I wanted to point out, the last one, is just the cost itself in terms of construction. What it's going to cost in Lufkin to construct versus Houston, those are significantly higher on the Houston end. And so those are items that would have to be taken into consideration. And so in terms of the conclusion, COGS have to weigh the long-term needs, our finances, what our grant portfolio looks like. We can definitely look at the possibility of creating nonprofit partnerships to help with offset those costs. And then also leasing does remain to be the safest for organizations who have limited unrestricted funds. And so that's the case with the council of governments. And so I know that I've talked to Board Trustee Hanani in terms of El Paso ISD. They do have a surplus of buildings that are no longer being utilized. What could that potential partnership look like? Maybe the council of governments would want to embark on that. But at this moment in time, looking at having done this study, it'd be very difficult for the council of governments to get into. We would have to have several $1 million of grant money that we could identify. We would also have to ensure that we had a steady stream of revenue coming in from other sources outside of grants, whether that be through conference meeting spaces, things of that nature. And so it's not impossible, but I think it would take, at this moment in time, if I was asked, can we go ahead and start looking at a building to own? We would not have the funding for that. We're still not at $500,000. We're at 430,000 in terms of our fund balance. And so with the times right now, the way they are on the federal government side and with funding, I think that it would make a lot of sense for us to hold steady and just be conservative about that. We also are currently in this lease up until 2032. So we do have some time, but it's something for us to think about. And you as a board would be able to give us direction, how you would want us to embark on which route to take. So that's my information. Just wanted to let you know what I've been doing. I'm so happy to be done with it. More time to focus on other initiatives, but I think it was a great opportunity. Unfortunately, this year, when we started our new cohort, the second one, Rio Grande did not support an employee to go through the program just because of the cost and the uncertainty in our funding, which is unfortunate. We'll have to wait out these next 2 years. And so the next opportunity would be in fiscal year 29 to be able to send someone to the CPM program. That doesn't mean that we can't find other opportunities. There are other CPM programs available. Just the one through the state association wouldn't happen until 29. Any questions for me on this?
Just a quick comment. Thank you for all of that intensive research. I'm sure it took quite some time and we appreciate the feedback.
Well, thank you. And I still want to figure out some ways in terms of how that can be looked at, whether it's the council governments or anyone else to be able to utilize the school buildings. One thing that is interesting, that's I think interesting to note is that Isleta ISD, they have their buildings that they're still selling as well, but they're somewhat on an informal hold because the Isla del Sur tribe is suing for those buildings, saying that they are rightfully theirs because it was their land originally. So it has kind of held things back in terms of any other interest of developers purchasing buildings. But so they were on I think a really good path at first, and now they've kind of they're somewhat holding off in terms of being able to sell the rest of the buildings that they have. So this is something that with our school districts, Socorro is not in that situation, but knowing our population trends and our childbirths, that might be something that at some point in time might be a consideration in terms of what do we do with these buildings, these vacant buildings, since they're so significant. But so with that being said, that's my information. I just wanted to provide that to you, and it's not an action item, but if you have any questions or ideas moving forward, please let me know and we can have some one-on-ones.
I have a comment. If maybe we can get together and kind of go over some of that information, your capstone itself, because I think that helps a lot of the smaller municipalities, because we're actually going through that right now along with San Necesario. Our city hall, Horizon owns that. Our current police headquarters is owned by MIMCO. We lease from MIMCO. They're right next to each other too. We're finishing our new build for our police headquarters, but now we have to move. If you saw the amount of portables we have for staff, because we don't have room. So now we have to look at either leasing another space for some of our departments or figuring out how to remodel our current city hall. So that information will really help us to kind of, maybe there's something in there that we didn't think of. Maybe there's something in there that we could probably gather from that data that you have would really help us a lot. And I think a lot of the smaller municipalities look at that because we do have budget constraints.
Mhm.
You know, I don't have, even Clint, I had a town hall and I told everybody that our budget was $17 million. And then one of the board members from Clint ISD laughed. He says, we're at 122 million. And I know El Paso is going to laugh at that, but it just kind of gives you a perspective as to where everybody is as far as budget constraints, so that really helps us a lot. So if we could get some information from you, that would be very helpful for us.
Definitely. Thank you. Yes, we can definitely do that. I know that we'll see. We could definitely ask Anthony. Maybe they would be willing to give us a presentation how things are going, because they were able to request a community fund project under Congresswoman Escobar, which included their city hall. I know that under the funding sources that we've been able to identify, it's difficult to be able to justify a city hall under grants. And you can see why, right? And how in terms of the benefit, but those are some of the things that we can look at as well in terms of some potential funding down the road as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Annette, thank you for all of that information.
Thank you.
Very, very, very.
All right. Okay.
5.2.
Yes, sir. So 5.2, this is potentially a big ask, but I'm ready to answer the questions that you may have. We're requesting for the board to approve and authorize the Rio Grande Council Governments to submit a request for proposal to the City of El Paso for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge Innovation Network for Advanced Manufacturing, Aerospace, and Defense, which is a federally funded initiative through the U.S. Economic Development Administration, with a program horizon through April 30th of 2027 in an amount not to exceed 1 million. This proposal became available. It was, let's see, so I think it was on Thursday of last week. The RFP came out. And so we were starting to review what are the possible proposals that we could submit on behalf of the council government. And so what we're looking at is we're wanting to apply under task 1. And the purpose of task 1 is program development and industry engagement, which is supporting the long-term success of the innovation network. And its purpose is to recruit, organize, and activate regional manufacturers and partners through coordinated program design, industry outreach, and data-driven performance tracking. So the proposal is due February the 18th. We are not scheduled to meet again until February 30th. But if the board would want to see the final document before it's submitted, we can have our board meeting on February 13th. So that is some direction I'll need from the board on this initiative. I know it's a large amount that we're asking for. There is a short horizon. I know that the city is identifying, they have a total of 7 tasks that they've identified. And I believe that their requirement is that they're going to, need to, commit to proposals for up to $13 million. So that's going to be a quick turnaround for all the organizations to finish off the Build Back Better initiative. And we have been assisting with the Build Back Better initiative since its inception. More we've been on the committees, we've been on the regional governance board, but we have not been participating in any sort of financial manner where we're receiving any of these funds. And so this is what would allow us to do that. I don't have the task fleshed out. We're still working on how that would exactly look. And so that's why I wanted to get direction from the board to see if you all were comfortable enough to allow us to submit with this approval, or if you want to review and then submit on the 13th.
Just the wish I don't have any problem just letting this continue on, not hold it up. By board approval, I believe, and that's got it handled.
If that's a motion, I said.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay, so would that be your motion, Judge Evans, to
If I can make that motion, yes.
Wait, Jackie Butler raised her hand.
oh, sorry, Commissioner Butler. I apologize.
That's okay. Thank you so much, Annette. I would, my preference would be for us to be able to review the RFP before it's submitted. Only because this grant has a bit of a rocky history. And so I'd want to make sure personally that what the COG is committing to will be feasible under the timelines that might be associated with this work.
And so we could, like I said, option 1 could be to take it to February 13th for board review and approval. We can also identify a committee to review the proposal, and they can make the determination if they want to review and approve it. And all this is just because whether we want to meet again on the 13th or wait until the 30th. But I definitely understand Commissioner Butler's concerns. And so knowing that this could be a potential issue is that we would definitely, Marty says there's anything is there a meeting that you have?
No, I mean, I was gonna put in an application for series grant, so just coordinating.
So so another item to take into account, when is that application due?
So it's not due till March, but I would have just the resolution not to exceed $2 million for that series grant.
Okay, so that wouldn't prohibit you whether it's the 13th or the 30 or the 20, I said 30, there's no.
27th.
27th. I made up 2 extra days, sorry. The 27th.
You committee then?
But, and Commissioner, I don't know what you think about the committee structure, if that's something that or just go with the board. Like I said, I totally understand the reason behind it as well.
Happy to serve on a review committee, if that would be helpful, and if the board is okay with that. I just know there's a lot of details associated with this grant that I'd want to make sure that we're treading as carefully as possible and making sure that what we're committing to is something we can deliver within the time frame.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone here that would be willing to serve with Commissioner Butler on that committee?
I can serve for meeting via Zoom.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll be out of town.
I think a committee representative of the board would be sufficient for this proposal.
So we could have, I think I hear Commissioner Butler agreeing to serve on the committee as well as Trustee Hanani. So that would be 2 right there. I don't know if we wanted, okay.
Do one more.
Judge McKenzie.
3, have 3 on the committee, and is that a good number with everyone? Okay.
I think that's fair.
All right.
And then one item also that I do want to mention, what we're going to be doing is I do want to utilize the assistance of a grant writer to help us make sure that we're as fully competitive as we can. So we will be acquiring someone to help with that initiative. It's under our threshold in terms of our quotes, and so we're not doing an RFP for that. So that's something that all of this has to move fairly quickly, but we definitely don't want to give you the appearance that we're forcing your hands in terms of agreeing to it. So things will be moving quickly on this, and we can definitely work with the committee to present our drafts and our ideas as we work through it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Well, what's the deadline again for submitting?
February 18th.
18th.
And then I think that week, well, it would be too late anyway, but the MPO is meeting that week of the 18th. And so we never want to get in their way because then we won't have a meeting.
So I can do a motion to approve with the committee structure as discussed.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to move forward with the committee structure and strand. Any further
Name the members of
discussion?
the committee? Pardon? Do we need to name the members of the committee as a formality or just as?
Yeah, and the committee members would be Commissioner Jackie Butler with El Paso County, Board Trustee Leo Hanani with El Paso ISD, and Judge Joanna McKenzie with Husband County.
Do you have a specific grant writer?
No, we're still doing the quotes, so we have to get that secured by Monday. I'd say by Monday, Tuesday, I'm waiting for them to respond to me.
All in favor of the motion with the committee members named?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We'll move to 6.1 Regional Law Enforcement Training and Local Agreement.
Good morning. Yes, Board of Directors, Mitty Quintanilla, Regional Services Director. Requesting approved and authorized the Executive Director to enter into the agreement with El Paso County by and through the El Paso County Sheriff's Office for the regional regional law enforcement training. As you all are aware, the law enforcement training is provided by, to the funding for the law enforcement is provided to the COG region through El Paso County Sheriff's Office Region Training Aid Academy. The COG has had a longstanding relationship with El Paso County Training Academy to provide in-service training courses and to the region's officers and deputies. To fulfill the state mandate training requirements and offer advanced training learning opportunities. The agreement total is $136,373, and it covers the performance period of September 1 of 25 through August 31st of 26. Our legal counsel has reviewed the agreement. This agreement will also be in front of county commissioners within the next 2 weeks, I believe.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There is question.
Oh,
Representative Acevedo, I'm so sorry. We'll look at we need to look at our screen.
I apologize.
Representative Acevedo, did you have a question?
I was voting. I usually just raise my hand because there's a delay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Any nays?
Constable had a question.
I have just a comment.
Yes.
After consulting with Sheriff Ugarte on this, he was mentioning that he believes 136K is not enough. And the only reason being is a lot of the equipment, it's very outdated or obsolete. One example would be their firing range. It's in desperate need of new range equipment and technology. So he was requesting just a general increase to help to replace a lot of the training equipment.
And what we have, the way that the program works is that we are informed what funding is available to us. And that's coming from the state funding source. And so it's not an arbitrary number. This is what has been carved out for us from the state agency. Money, says there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Right now, so in our interlocal agreement, The academy provides that budgetary, the budget itemized. And they can go ahead and then request what and prioritize what needs are. I know that for the last fiscal year for 25, we ended up using some of those dollars to do the tables and the chairs for classroom, I think C and D.
Yes.
And then I think there was an ask to also do the chairs for the auditorium. We also got some Star Target equipment or supplies. And so the academy has that blanket state to prioritize what are the most important needs. And also in 25, there was a contract with LexiPool to provide online training. And then that system, I'm sure you're familiar with, Police One and so forth, that they go ahead and track all the licensing and everything, all the classes that the officers and deputies, constables, everybody needs to take to be able to be certified as a peace officer or a deputy, right? So you do have up to 136,000, 373, and then the academy can go ahead and prioritize what needs they have. But unfortunately, gosh, when I started back in 2001, this budget to the academy was over $500,000, but you can see how it just continues to decrease.
Right.
And so it's just, that's the monies that the award, and actually it's based on a formula, the allocation that we receive from the governor's office. And the ARCOG doesn't, we don't fall under the same formula. We actually have a higher allocation. And that's just because we always continue to say, we need more money, we need more money. And so, yeah, other COGs receive less dollars just because of the formula that they apply. Whereas with us, we're outside that formula and we do receive a little bit higher than others.
Will the sheriff's department, do they have access as far as how they get that formula?
I can ask the governor's office to share with us the formula in terms of how they allocate those dollars. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And Constable, I understand that at some point you all may need to make a decision whether you want to continue this endeavor or not. Obviously, we have benefited tremendously from the contractual agreement. Many of our council of governments who have training academies are facing dire situations because they are not receiving sufficient grant funding to pay for their buildings, for their staff. And so we definitely recognize that this is, at this moment in time, the most optimal for our organization to continue the partnership with the sheriff's office. But we understand that at some point you may need to reevaluate this as well, because the amount that you're putting in terms of your funds is much greater than the 136 that we can provide.
Right. And I mean, on behalf of the sheriff, he does appreciate, the support for it. It's, but there's always a need.
Mhm.
So, but thank you so much.
We did vote on this motion and it carried. Wish to amend this motion in any means. Okay. Thank you for the discussion. Motion did carry.
The next agenda item for you all will be on page, will be on page 37.
The lawn.
Yes, and what we'll do next time is we'll go ahead and start using our, we'll put in some cues for you so you can just go back and forth and toggle between the two.
Oh, that would be nice. Okay. All right, 6.2, Public Safety Office, Office of the Governor, Violence Against Women, Justice Training Program Grant Application.
Right. So Board of Directors requesting approval and authorization to allow the Executive Director to submit the FY27 Violence Against Women's Justice and Training Program grant application in the amount not to exceed $50,000. The project's titled is Regional Violence Against Women's Project to the Office of the Governor Public Safety Office. And if you all recall for FY26, we submitted an application under VAWA, and we did receive a small award for that implementation for that project. And so the thought with the current application is to go ahead and do scenario-based video to help officers, not only here in El Paso County, with El Paso PD and the sheriff's office, but also in the region, do some scenario-based in how to respond to protective orders when they're called upon. And so that is the first phase of the funding. The second phase in the 27 application is actually to go and roll out that training throughout the COG region. So I'll lean to Judge McKenzie to talk a little bit more about discussions that we've had, not only with the police department, but also with the county attorney's office and some of the, with the officers of the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee regarding this project.
I think I'm probably just going to reiterate what you're saying is this something we want to carry out throughout the region and help with? That's identified in a need. You don't have much more to say.
I think that the need was, there was a gap where officers, deputies were responding to protective orders and really perhaps not really understanding what that enforcement of that protective order looks like. And so one of the other things was being a little bit more innovative in how the training for protective orders are conducted or responded to, needed to be a little bit more interactive. And so that was the thought process in having a filmed type of role play scenarios provided by county attorneys office, and then be able to capture that in a video, and then along with the training, have that video as a supplement to the protective orders. So if I can lean on you, Constable, because you're very familiar with protective orders.
So the issue with a lot of the protective orders is it's meeting the element of offense. A lot of times we'll get a complaint. Sometimes it's third person. Okay, these two are together. They shouldn't be. And yes, there's a protective order between them. However, if we make the arrest, once we contact Tim's attorney, a lot of times we're not going to accept this case. So where is that fine line? So that's why we do need the additional training to ensure that we're meeting those elements. And if there is an arrest to be made and a report to follow, that we're following all those proper guidelines. So again, I've seen it personally, and even when there's been an argument and it's in public, you show up in a protective order, and once we make our presentation, they say no. So we need to make sure that, okay, well, where's the threshold of where it is a criminal, or it's just we're going to separate parties for today. So
I hope that.
Yes, thank you.
Good to hear it from your perspective, actually, because we've heard it from the judges and from the attorneys. So I really appreciate your perspective on it.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, it's very challenging because we want to do the right thing. And family violence is a very serious crime, anything having to do with domestic violence. So we want to ensure that we're doing the right thing, we're following the law, and we're working with our partners.
And it is not black and white, is it?
No. That gray seems to always linger there. So, but we do have good resources. Again, we have our DEMS attorneys, we have our county attorneys that assist us, and we have direct communication with them 24/7. So usually when we come across these, but we want to have the proper training, because oftentimes the public does not understand. And that's the question. It's like, hey, I'm witnessing this. Why are you not doing anything? So for an officer to be able to explain the situation better will help us prepare.
I think, I'm sorry, another piece to that is de-escalation as well. Ben?
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question, I guess directly to the constable. This particular topic, this particular item, you're trained through your particular training and academy. This is to refine, reteach. What exactly, how does this come into being? Because I would imagine that your training is not coming specifically and exclusively from the COG. Is that correct?
Correct. So our training usually comes from our academies, whether it be the Sheriff's Academy. Oftentimes we can attend training with the Police Academy. There's different academies here that provide training, or even reaching out of town. The laws are always changing. We need to make sure that we have the proper information when we're out in the field. And again, de-escalation is a new technique. There's always new techniques coming up. something to try to prevent the crimes and to inform the public, our community partners, how we can best resolve this. It doesn't always have to be by means of jailing. So this, to a sense, is adding another tool to the belt.
So this is to supplement. This is not the basic training that you all.
No, this is supplement.
Supplement.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
You will.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The office. Violence Against Women Training Program grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody
Yes.
unanimous. It has passed. So 7.1. An introduction to the preparation and process for upcoming Rio Grande Area Agency on Aging 27 through 29 area plan. Yvette.
Good morning, Board of Directors. Yvette Lugo, Director for our Rio Grande Area Agency on Aging. And so this is an information item that I bring before you all today. And part of that is because I want you all to understand the process, particularly because towards the end, I will need your support and commitment to helping to support our area plan. And so as an information item, our area agencies on aging are required to prepare and basically look at what our proposed services will be for our region. And this is in 3-year increments. So this plan that I'm working on is looking at years 2027 through 2029. And so part of that is, again, looking at our region's needs, coming together with input from the community, from you all, persons who potentially could serve as or receive recipients of our services, to look at that and ensuring that we are in fact serving the needs of our region. And the beauty of that is area agencies on aging can tailor those the funds that we receive, the programming that we put together for the needs specifically for our region. And so part of this is just to, again, inform you all that we're in this process now. The deadline or due date, I should say, for our area plan is May 29th. But looking at our timelines, we're putting together a community survey that I will send together electronically. And so we're learning how to do that. And we're used to good old paper surveys, but now we're going to move together forward with the times, put together an electronic survey that I want to be able to send to you all for your input, encourage you to send to some of your constituents in your particular areas. We'll work with clients as well, community partners that we work with, just to gather, basically looking at what are the needs, what are the things that perhaps we're seeing on the horizon as far as things that we might be able to support. If it's still consistent with the way we have our service delivery model set up, then that's the support behind it and to why we are proposing to provide those services. And so you'll see that from me soon. Hopefully my goal is to do this throughout the month of February. And then part of what they're now requiring us to do is have a 30-day comment period. And so that's new. So all that's doing is really pushing me to get things done, right? And so I'll present that, excuse me, to you all at our proposed April meeting and hopefully provide that. Our thoughts right now is to put that link up on our website, encourage people to obviously look at, provide that comment to me. And then we will formalize a review by our Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council. Part of that is them being able to look at what's been prepared, give favorable comment. That's scheduled to happen May 20th. And then looking at your board approval at our May meeting, which right now we have tentatively scheduled for May 29th. So I'm cutting it close. But part of informing that also is just really utilizing those resources. I'm really happy to kind of include that as an aside, but for your information, the Paso del Norte Health Foundation has committed to bringing together initiatives towards healthy aging. And so I'm looking to them to hopefully help inform this plan as well. And I'm glad that they've reached out to us to serve as well, I'm going to call myself a subject matter expert. Not that they've said that to me, but they've reached out to us to say, what is it that we're looking at and the needs of our region when we look at healthy aging and older adults in our region. So all of that will go to inform that. And really that's part of the commitment to what we need to ensure, again, that we don't just assume that we know what's best for older adults, but really taking into account what others think, feel, and of course, hearing from older adults or people who are caring for their aging loved ones, what those needs are and what we'd like to see in our region. So this is just an information item for you, just to know that as we come towards the end of when it's time to submit, I will be coming back to you for your approval, for your hopeful approval and or comments through the survey mechanism and or time when we have our open comment period.
And if any of you have any community meetings that you're holding and you would like for this to be recorded out, one of our staff members can make themselves available so we can explain the process.
That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. 7.2, update on the 2025 senior fundraising campaign.
Yes, thank you again. This is also an information item. And as we shared, we know that the senior fund is now under our purview and or control. And part of that is, of course, then taking on that responsibility of now fundraising for the senior fund. The official, I guess, fundraising period for us this last year was from the holiday season, so Thanksgiving through Christmas. And in partnership with the El Paso Times, we were able to do that. And that's something that I think most people are used to. If you're used to reading the paper, at least now accessing it online, you may have seen some of those profile stories of clients of ours. There's a kickoff to where we highlight or showcase a client who was assisted. And again, helping us to tell the story as to why this fund is so important for us. And then various profiles of clients who are in need of services. And so part of that, obviously reading through those profiles, people are then motivated to donate. And so I'm happy to report that this, in partnership with that fundraising campaign generated $20,163. So I'm very grateful for that. Obviously, the investment on our part of creating those profile stories and writing that, obviously grateful to the El Paso Times for allowing us to use them and really them allowing that news, if you will, space for not charging us, that they are then committing space to focusing on those stories for that. So with that, the generosity, so it really gladdens my heart to know that at least people still reading were able to generate $20,000, which is really a good thing for us. And so just as an FYI, that year-to-date balance in the fund right now, we've got $90,654. And our year-to-date expenses, where we helped basically 2 clients with their dental needs, did 1 residential repair of installation of ramp and grab bars, and then assisted by purchasing a hearing aid for someone. It was a total of $32,085. So it's one of those things where quickly expenses happen, right? So it's important for us to continue to generate funds towards that, because the senior fund, its intent is obviously now that it's under our control and purview, again, through partnership with the Paso Norte Community Foundation as a designated fund. This allows us to then use those monies throughout our 6-county region, because before this, it was just limited to El Paso County because it was under the control of other entities here. Now, through this initiative, we're able to expand that. So I will definitely be reaching out and again, ask for your suggestions, connections, anything that you can think of for foundations, entities out in the region, because I really do want to make those efforts to expand our fundraising out to those parts to hopefully then secure those that support and funding from the other parts of our region. We are able to, under this fund, designate certain parts. So if that helps us keep it kind of, separate for specific counties or communities, we're able to do that too. So if that helps to sell that a little better to foundations per se, they're just looking for the region's needs, we can certainly do that. But if you have any suggestions for me, I'm happy to take that. And thank you to those that did donate, because some of you, our board members, also donated to the fund. So thank you so much for your support.
And just as a reminder, it's actually open to all of our 7 counties. So we know that this is one way where we can actually make some direct contact with Doña County and the surrounding communities. So we're looking at that. We've had an initial conversation with the Southern New Mexico Community Foundation with Tara Winter. And so we need to revisit that to see how we can expand on a potential, or just to create a potential partnership with them. But if any of you are at any point talking to any foundations, any potential funders, this is the vehicle that it can be used for, and it's for our older adults. And so this is going to be the most flexibility that we will ever have. So we encourage you to take that into account as well.
How long has the program, this particular program with El Paso Times, been in existence?
We're guesstimating at least almost 30 years, because it precedes my time, and in March I'll be with the COG for 24 years. So This fund has been in existence since then, and kind of history, it started off as an initiative through the Area Agency on Aging, but the El Paso Times itself had a foundation set up. And then they chose to close that foundation. And then quickly Annette and I kind of gathered our thoughts and said, okay, let's approach someone else because this is truly beneficial. The fund allows us to obviously expand the funding for Area Agency on Aging, but because it is local dollars, it helps us, it has a little more flexibility in the way we can support the needs of older adults. And so then we moved over to the United Way of El Paso County, and then they handled the fiscal management of it. Their setup and what they felt like was important was a committee reviewed the submissions. It did work in the time. There were some hiccups there. I'll be honest with you in that sense of access to funds. And so when we approached the Paso Norte Community Foundation and looked at and hadn't really even thought about what that could look like for us in designating it as its own fund, the Paso Norte Community Foundation does take a portion to manage the funds because they basically pay the vendors, but we have full access to then submit those clients because I firmly believe we are doing the screening portion of it. We're doing the case management portion of helping and assisting clients. And so trusting our professional thoughts and service towards which clients could benefit from this fund. It's come a long way in this sense, and it obviously helps us. That was the biggest thing for us, was to expand to the rest of our region, because primarily it was just El Paso County residents, which obviously we have so much more to serve and with respect to our region.
Thank you. I remember reading these snippets as a child in the newspaper. My grandmother got the El Paso Times every morning, and they made a huge impact on me. So, I mean, we appreciate, you all being able to continue this. If there's anything we can do, expect me. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
And if anyone has any ideas in terms of potential fundraisers, and maybe there's something that you would want to partner with us on, we're exploring that possibility as well. But Mir?
Yeah, as you all know, I'm new in this board, but I'm very active in what is aging and older adult modification programs. So if you need any assistance, how we can or direct you with other nonprofits or state aid or federal agencies, let me know. There's plenty of fund, not plenty, as you all know, is going down, but there's still funds available for aging and older adults. So let me know. How can I be a help for you?
Sure. And if you see anything, if you want to shoot me an email and a link to an application, I'm happy to look at that and see if that's something that we can enter into.
I will, Mrs. Lu. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Yvette, this is Diana. I don't know if you can hear me. But I just wanted to mention, I work with a lot of nonprofits and I cannot emphasize enough the value of El Paso Giving Day. It's relatively zero to no cost. And if you have an effective social media campaign, that's a real quick and easy way to crowdfund without having to put in the legwork in a formal fundraiser. So just something to think about.
Yes, thank you. And actually I was able to get in right under the wire to do that. And so that generated about $5,600 for us.
Nice.
Yes. But I learned many lessons, because you're absolutely right. Social media and managing that is very much something that we need to learn for sure. So we'll definitely do it again this next coming year. And now that I know basically what to do and how we should be framing this ask through social media, I'm hoping that we'll gain more traction that way. But thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you all.
Now we'll move into any announcements.
Well, if I may just do announcements, I do want to recognize City of San Rosario and Hudspeth County pending the funding notification from HUD to the Texas Department of Agriculture. Both of the communities are eligible for funding through the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program. So that's $750,000. That sounds like a lot, but we'll see how far we get, what we want to do with it, right? So just wanted to make that announcement. And then the other item was yesterday, I was fortunate enough to attend a meeting where several of you were at that meeting in Van Horn talking about healthcare. And there is some funding that will be made available soon through the federal government. And these communities have already put together a plan in terms of how they're going to address healthcare in a united front. And so it was just really amazing to hear what they're looking at doing and the partnership that they've established with others so far in terms of utilizing technology in a rural frontier community. So I'm really excited for that initiative.
Thank you, UNET, for helping us out,
Yes.
getting this application out to the DAs. Thank you so much.
What Annette is talking about is going to benefit rural medicine and rural healthcare in ways that we've never been able to have before. It's great potential, great opportunity.
Lajitas, excuse me, Lajitas in general, or was that where they keep
You
the
bet.
most? Yes.
Yes, sir. They were.
And Commissioner Butler, I did ask the question if there's any consideration of looking at our southern portions of El Paso County in terms of their footprint. So that will be determined. So hopefully we can report that out.
You bet. Any further announcements? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Hi,
Good job.
everyone. Thank you.
Great.
Why?